Nothing improves the way other people see your art than seeing that you respect it yourself. If you photograph your work, one of the inherent faults you're going to encounter is the 18% problem. And if you don't fix it, you're effectively saying to prospective clients, I don't care that much about my work, so why should you? You need to fix it. Although there are many ways to do that and present your work correctly, I'll just concentrate on a few that give speedy results. However, before you can improve photographs of your completed drawings, you have to understand what the problems are. First, unlike our eyesight, which constantly adjusts for distance and brightness as we move them over a scene, photography encounters two major problems. The first is that it exposes everything based on the overall brightness. That leads to burnt-out highlights and overdark shadows. And the second, as I've just mentioned, cameras read white as an 18% grey. So what you see is never truly equal to reality. And this problem can be seriously detrimental when photographing your drawings. To combat that, in the old days, I'd point my camera at this card. It's an exact 18% grey. I'd half press the shutter, read the exposure, and then manually set the camera to those values. Then I'd take the photo, knowing the camera would correctly read white as white. Now you can set the same white balance in any good digital camera. Maybe not on your phone. But I've noticed many people either don't know about white balance or don't bother to use it. But you should. Otherwise, that's why your white paper inevitably appears to be grey. So, using Affinity Photo, let's explore ways to enhance photos of your drawings, which is essential if you have a website or post your work to social media, because you need to represent your work in its best light. I mean, well, this is hardly good sales pitch, is it? Your potential customer is forced to imagine what the work really looks like. Would you want to buy this, in the hope that it looks better in real life than it does here? Even in detail? Probably not. It's dead. It's flat. It has no contrast. Always correct your photography, so your website or social media posts best reflect the quality of your work. And preferably use a scanner. Even a combined printer scanner will produce much truer to life images than your phone. Respect your work, because if you don't, others won't. So let's explore one way to achieve that and keep it simple. This is a Science of Shadows exercise by artist Lucia from my 8-week advanced drawing course. And to award it the respect it deserves, I want to adjust it close to its true values before I critique it. If there isn't any colour in your drawing, reduce the image to grayscale. That's Document, Convert Format, click the drop-down box, and select Grey 8. Now we have the absence of colour, take a look at the histogram. Click its tab alongside colour, and if the tab doesn't exist, go to Window and check the histogram. It displays the values present and their strengths. Black is on the left, white on the right. So you can see there's an absence of white and very little contrast, because most of the values are crowded into the centre. Now before we try altering anything manually, it's always worth trying the auto functions first. So let's try auto contrast. That's quite effective. But notice I copied the original image first and renamed it auto. That's so I can return to my earlier image if the adjustment doesn't work out. And I'll do that, duplicate the image, at every stage. Now we can try to alter the image manually by eye. We'll begin with Ctrl L, which brings up levels. We need to move the white slider right to increase the brightness, But here's a really useful feature. Hold down Alt as you drag the slider. Keep dragging until the display shows your alterations are beginning to appear within the subject. Then back off a little and release. That's as white as you can make it without losing the light detail in the subject. Although it's far from perfect, the paper has increased in brightness. Now try the black slider. And again holding down Alt to see if you can pump up the darker values a little. Well, with the white level set to 95% and black to 15%, the paper is a brighter white and the subject has more contrast, but the background still isn't white. And to save time, I'll isolate all the paper that doesn't contain our image using the lasso tool, shortcut L. With all the other layers turned off and polygonal selected, I'll click my way around the image. Click Invert Selection, then hit Delete, followed by Ctrl-D to deselect the area. Now, a white background would give us a good value reference, so go to Document and turn off Transparent Background. Copy the last layer again and flatten it. That's right-click, then Rasterize and Trim. This is the quick and dirty method, but it often gives good results. Go to Erase, that's E, and set the brush to about 100 pixels wide and 80% hardness. Now erase close to the outer lines. Click at the beginning of each one, go to the end and position the eraser, and then hold down Shift and click. That erases in a straight line between the 2 points. You can move the image around at any time by holding down the spacebar and left-click dragging. And if you need to zoom in, position the cursor where you'd like to zoom to and use the mouse scroll wheel to zoom in and out. Press L again for lasso if you need to clean up any corners. Now we'll clean up the internal areas. Press E for Erase again. To suitably size the brush and make it relatively hard, you could use the settings and sliders. But the quick way, hold down Ctrl and Alt. Left-click and drag. Side to side alters the hardness. Up and down alters the size. Now erase close to the inner edge of the first area. Click, go to the next corner, Shift-click again. Quick and easy. Use the same strategy to go around the egg cup. Shift-click in short straight lines. And to quickly clean up the corners, press L for lasso. The grey area is now isolated, so let's try Flood Select. That's shortcut W. Turn Contiguous on. Drag the cursor over the area until it's all selected. And hit Delete. As the other upper areas are long and narrow, I'll just clean those with the polygonal lasso. And again for the narrow areas down at the base. Let's try the Dodge tool for the egg cup's base areas. Set to about 50% opacity. Just type 5 on your keyboard to achieve that. You can use the same Shift-click strategy. And then wipe over the central part. You could use a lasso or even erase, but Dodge doesn't do as much damage if you stray outside of the lines. For 90% opacity, type 9. For 100%, simply type 0 or 100. Now with the centre isolated, you can use a lasso. Quickly click around it and then delete. I think a touch of levels is needed again. The mid-tone gamma to about 1.2. Then, because they're rather light, I'll use burn to darken some of the orthogonals or convergence lines. select midtones and shift-click again for speed to darken the orthogonals for clarity wherever you think it's necessary. Look at the histogram, from black at the left to pure white at the right. Job done. We've gone from the original grey, low contrast photo to something much closer to the original drawing. A natural contrast image on pristine white paper. And now I can critique and give advice, knowing I'm doing full justice to the quality time Lucia spent drawing it. You can save a lot of time and trouble by lighting your work evenly and not taking quick snaps of it. I often place my work flat on the ground and photograph it from above on an overcast day. Indoors, you could photograph it flat beneath a tripod. And stand a pencil in the centre and look at the shadows it casts. Then adjust the lighting until the shadows match. And now you know the lighting is even. If your photos suffer from poor and uneven lighting, these gradated images are never easy to fix. And sometimes the flat 18% grey problem can be difficult to resolve too. But now you can use all the methods we used earlier to make certain your drawing is looking its best. If you're trying to sell your expertise and attract commissions or sell prints or just gain the most likes, which do you think would be more effective? No contest, in my opinion. And for even more help, there's a more comprehensive members-only version of this video at Draw with Mike. So there you are. Respect your work, and others will respect it in turn.